Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, bonus material, The Dad Files. In looking for material to read, I found an old folder that contains every article that I ever wrote about being a dad. From the very first time we knew we were having a baby, all the way through the adult life of my daughter and now her own children. Oh, I always get letters from people who say, hey, when you preach, you talk about your children too much. Well, being a dad is one of the most awesome responsibilities and one of the greatest adventures I've ever had. I hope you'll enjoy The Dad Files. In 1998, I opened up my private practice. I moved to a little small office on South Memorial Parkway, and across the hall from my office was a absolutely charming Southern gentleman named Mr. Walt Bartee. He and his sister Ann ran Walt Bartee Coins and Bullion. This little shop was eventually taken over by their grandson, Jared Bentley. Jared is one of the most pleasant people you'll ever do business with. If you're interested in investing in gold or silver, call Walt Bartee Coins and Bullion, 256-883-9004, 256-883-9004, or use the 800 number, 1-800-608-6052. That's 1-800-608-6052. What can I say? I just finished test rocking the latest, I'm talking brand new, 1989 model baby girl with all the options. The only reason I'm here this morning is I was writing this article. I left for the hospital at 2:45 a.m. Sunday morning. At 2:54, we pulled into the parking lot. We were sure this was not a false alarm. Labor room experience is pretty interesting. It all seems so routine. By 10 o'clock, the routine ended. We had 20 or so friends in the waiting room. The doctor said he was afraid that the baby wasn't going to drop, and he might have to take it. At noon, he made the decision final. I reported to the support group. My dad and brother weren't there. I really wanted to see them before we went into surgery. If everyone else hadn't been there to hug me, I'd have been even more afraid. Scrub, wear a paper suit, walk into surgery. Watch somebody cut your wife's abdomen open. My first view of Lonnie Elizabeth Jones was her dark, dark hair. That's turned blonde since those days. I thought, oh no, we've had a gorilla. When the rest of our little girl was pulled out into the world of air, germs, and light, she was very, very wrinkled and purple. She wasn't breathing well. Oh no, we've had a California raisin. There were some pretty tense seconds before Lonnie Beth Jones tested her lungs. There was a pretty tense hour or so where we didn't see her, but talked to the neonatologist about her being kept under oxygen for a while. There are a lot of prayers I never heard, but someone did. Tim, the minister I worked with at the time, was right. My life has changed. Schedules, maybe. I'm still a long way from growing up. I'm probably always just a bit off plumb in the run-of-the-mill department. I don't trust boys who will be 16 in the year 2005. More than that, my life has changed in a way that I really, really can't explain. I went home Monday morning and had a talk with my big dog. He's part German Shepherd, part Mackenzie Timberwolf. His name is Mackenzie. I called him Big Mac. I informed Big Mac about possibly there being ribbons in his hair and bows on his tail, and how certain little girls might try to ride him. We are in for some changes, Mac. If I could ever wrap this lesson up, I'd be able to leave and go back to the hospital. I could be sitting here at this computer all day, just randomly talking about this new person in my life. Maybe I'll just throw in a scripture, and Tim will think I've actually made a point. Yeah, I think I'm just headed off to the hospital right now. There go those little legs. All her pants are baggy, and it just adds to the effect of those little pistons pumping through the grass. Her legs are just barely long enough to reach the ground. In a flash, her blue eyes will divert to something that has moved. It might be a bug, a bird, or a late blooming flower blowing in the clear autumn air. Whatever the cause, it is enough to make walking a secondary rather than a primary function. Stumble, trip, snag, stagger, teeter, wobble, crash, and burn are all the names for the same event. My little 16-month-old has fallen again. Sometimes it really hurts and we get tears. Other times it's just the frustration that causes those little arms to reach upward and ask for daddy. We go for wanders every so often. We eventually will go for walks when she can start walking in a straight line. Any little bump, hill, or grade will make her change course. She is going in the same direction that I am, but she's just not consistent with her direction. If I get a little too far out in front, she will try to go faster and end up splashing in the grass. Sometimes I just take her outside and let her wander while I sit and watch. Walking, tumbling, bending, and looking. She smells the weeds, chases the grasshoppers, and will eat an ant or two if she can get away with it. As she goes about her normal little activities, she's always falling. It disturbs me to see her fall. I warn her to be careful. I caution her about rocks and slopes and small twigs, but she falls anyway. Sometimes when that little bottom smacks the ground, it's funny. Most of the time, however, I feel sad for her. She's trying so hard to be like us and walk with us and run with the other children. Falling is just part of her world. So what's my job? Do I keep her from falling? Am I to keep her in such a way that she can only fall when it doesn't hurt? See, my job as I see it is to make sure that she gets up. I try to dust her off and hug away the tears. She's got to fall. I have to realize that. My job is to prepare my daughter for the path, not prepare the path for my daughter. That's a quote from Tommy Caldwell. I wished I'd known it back then. I wonder if God sees us in the same way. He is so much more than we are. I wonder if he watches us wander and stumble and fall and realizes that although we are not walking in a straight line, that we really are trying to follow him. I know he hurts for us when we fall, and I know he waits for us to reach up and say, Abba, Abba. He realizes that falling is just part of our world, and that's why he sent us a Savior. Did you know a home bought or sold can mean that help is given to those in need? With Rosenblum Realty, a portion of their revenue is given to charities and nonprofits every single week. If you believe in helping those in need and are in the market to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, then consider the fact that partnering with Rosenblum Realty means they'll give a contribution to mission work, food distribution, homeless programs, children's education, military and veterans programs, and many other great works. Rosenblum Realty is a fourth-generation family-owned real estate company. To find out how they can help you while helping others, visit givetomycommunity.com. That's givetomycommunity.com, or visit them at rosenblumrealty.com. Rosenblum Realty, making lives a little rosier, one house at a time. My neighbor, Pat Bradford, has 2 dogs. One is a rather old German Shepherd named Duchess. The other is a rather large fur ball that looks like 100 pounds of fluff named Chubbs. Chubbs is big by any standard. He is covered with fluffy white hair, and he is in the playful stage of his life. Since a very early age, my daughter has been interested in the dogs. You can tell she's an Alabama native because she pronounces it dog. That's 1 D, 3 A's, 1 W, 1 G. What can you expect from a 1-year-old? We have a daily routine. It involves seeing if we can find the dogs. I ask if she'd like to go. Lonnie Beth heads for the door. We step out onto the porch. We then sit and scoot down onto the sidewalk. By then, the excitement is too much. She begins to walk faster. She walks forward with her shoulders hunched and her neck craned out as if she is cautiously looking for the dogs. Then she begins to call them, dog, dog, doggy. It is not much far for her to walk over to Pat's fence. Soon we catch the attention of the animals and Chubbs comes racing for us. Lonnie Beth then tries to climb my leg. Although she is intrigued by the dogs, she's also afraid of them. Chubbs could stand over her and her head would clear his belly at this point in her life. She likes the dogs as long as Dad is holding her. I really don't want her to be afraid of anything. I mean, of dogs or anything. So we've been seeing them regularly. Jackie is better at it than I am. We would visit the dogs, and while I held Lonnie Beth, Jackie would pet the dogs. This upset Lonnie Beth greatly. She was afraid for Mommy to be with the dogs also. Finally, we laughed as Mom pets the dogs. Then we sat on the ground outside the fence and just looked. Later, we stood by the fence and let the dogs lick our feet and our fingers. Just recently, we even reached into the fence and touched one of the dogs. Saturday was pretty significant. Jackie and Lonnie Beth went into the fence, and Lonnie Beth got down and walked around with the dogs. She is still not completely comfortable with the dogs, but she has made great progress. It really is kind of scary. I did not realize how easy it was going to be to make someone comfortable with the uncomfortable. Systematic desensitization is the professional word for it. There is a much older word. It carries a negative connotation. It's called temptation. You see, the evil one knows what we are afraid of. And first he lets us watch. He lets us watch others do it, and they don't get hurt. Soon he has us putting our fingers in the fence and getting licked. Then we are reaching into the fence, and the next thing you know, we're standing in the fence. To avoid standing in the fence, be careful about getting near the fence. Beware of the dogs. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little ears, what you hear. Oh, be careful, little hands, what you do. Oh, be careful, little feet, where you go. And be careful, little heart, what you love. I hate to change diapers. It's not just a mess, it's the trauma. A small child is dirty. That makes them fussy. They toddle about, whining and half crying. As a parent, you begin to investigate the problem. I usually start with the graham crackers. Nope, she doesn't want graham crackers. Juice. No juice. Night-night? That's a big negative. Oh no, she must be dirty. She needs her diaper changed. Changing a diaper is no great task. If you've not tried it, I don't recommend it. I have two primary methods. When Jackie is home, I use her. When Lonnie Beth and I spend the day together, I prefer the sink sprayer method. It's not complicated. Baby stands in sink. Dad holds sprayer. Dad snatches off offensive diaper and hoses down the baby. Did you ever notice that babies don't like to have their diapers changed either? That's really the problem I have. They need the change, and they complain until they get it, but when they get it, they cry even more. Spiritual babies. I mean, those who are spiritually immature are much the same way. They whine around about things that they don't like. They'll say things like Bible class is boring and devotionals are not fun and we never do anything but go to spiritual events. The preacher talks too long. I didn't get anything out of the lesson. Finally, ultimately, they are confronted with the facts that in order to be happy in church, it's a situation that they're going to have to change. They're going to have to get out of wet, worldly clothes and put on some spirituality. When these hard, cold facts are brought to light, the crying generally increases. The blame is placed on any number of places, but never where it should be. I can't help it if worship doesn't give you a buzz. It's not the job of the speaker to wow you with Academy Award-winning presentations. We are not in the entertainment business. If you're not happy being with spiritual people doing spiritual things, I really wonder where the problem is. If you don't enjoy being around Christian fellowship, then who do you fellowship with? Where is your heart? I have some advice for those who are discontent, for those toddling around whining and don't like the changes that are being proposed. I have some deep theological truths that can remedy the situation. Hebrews chapter 5, around verses 11 through 14, says simply that we should be servants and not served. We should eat meat and not live on milk. We should be teachers and not always taught. And if you allow me to paraphrase that, maybe it's time to get out of the diaper stage. Maybe it's time to grow up. There's a little girl at my house. She has blue eyes just like her mom. She has long, long eyelashes. They curve out over her eyes. She has fat hands. She sort of has her dad's body. Yeah, she's as wide as she is tall. Picture an oatmeal box with feet. Her voice is a little rough and sort of scratchy. I wonder where she got that. I catch myself sitting and watching her. Where will she be in 20 years? Will she be able to play softball as good as her mom? Can she sing like Jackie? I wonder if she'll be able to draw. Some of these things will be easy to measure. We will watch with wonder as she tries these things and fails or succeeds. Will she be an A student or a B student or a C student? It will be easy to measure what kind of student she will be. I look at my little girl and I have all these hopes in the world for what she will be or do. One day I'll be able to tell you what she can and can't do. If Lonnie Beth is only measured by her grades, income, sports, or drawing ability, that will be unfortunate. Anyone can measure those things, and those abilities are all part of being people. We all have some of them. What amazes me about Lonnie Beth's future is not what she will do that we expect, but rather the unexpected that she will do. What I'm saying is don't measure people by what you can see. It's easy to take an external survey and pass or fail people by what you can see and predict. When we do this, we shortchange them, we shortchange ourselves, and we even sort of shortchange God. I read this once in the Reader's Digest quotable quotes. Anyone can count the seeds in an apple. Only God can count the apples in one seed. I'm not going to look at people from a human standpoint anymore. I'm going to look at the potential that God installed in them and let them live out that life. For God does not see as a man sees. He does not look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart.